And now it's a great honor to welcome to the program some of the greatest artists in country music history. The Whites, Buck, Sharon, and Cheryl. How are you all?
Fine.
We're great. Thank you, Paul. We're doing good.
It's a true honor to have you here on the program. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, that's great. Once again, I really appreciate you all taking your time to come and speak with me here today. We've been playing your music the entire show pretty much, and as I said, that was just the Pipeliners Blues. We heard a lot of great old stuff.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's a great song. I learned that from Moon Mulligan.
I had wondered if you had, because it sure features your honky-tonk piano. That we're going to talk a lot about that, your piano styles.
Okay.
And, all right, well, I guess, Buck, maybe we'll start with you, just because you're the daddy of the group. We know you were around first. All right, so I guess, let's see.
Moon Mulligan came to my home, to Abilene, Texas, where I had just moved, and went to work on the radio with some other boys that I went to high school with. That was our first away-from-home venture, you might say. It wasn't but 150 miles away. But anyway, we got on the radio and played for this little Saturday night show. We were the house band, and Moon Mulligan was one of their guests one night. So I got to meet him and get acquainted with him. Then they brought him back again. This next time they brought him back, they had a piano. They didn't have a piano for him the first time, but
oh no,
boy, he liked to tore that thing up too.
I love the. He used to have a red piano that he used to play on TV sometimes from some of the old Opry shows I saw. And, he was great.
He was an old kind of a nightclub, dancing type of atmosphere, the piano player. So that's kind of what I did too.
So
dances.
So Buck, you were born in Texas, correct?
Well, that's where I grew up. I was born over across the river, but they didn't stay long enough for me to get my eyes open. They said. Then they came back home to Wichita Falls, Texas, which is 15 miles inside the line. My dad was out of work then. He went over there and got a job, and the job didn't last long. So I grew up mostly in North Texas.
So you were introduced to honky-tonk and Western music, of course, at a really early age, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I listened to the radio because my grandmother and my mother did, and I heard the Opry and WLS Barn Dance and all that. I was hearing all kinds of music, but where I lived in North Texas was dance country, and that's what they did. Everybody knew how to dance, and everybody danced, and we played kind of Western swing, and it was hillbilly too, mixed together. And there was always a piano player in the dance bands, generally always. So that's what I wound up doing, starting. So
we already talked about Moon Mulligan, but who were some of your other early musical influences?
Well, I used to love to hear the guys on WLS Barn Dance, Who's Your Hot Shots, and I loved Gene Autry singing, and
sure.
Guys like that, and Roy Acuff, I really idolized him, and of course Moon Mulligan was a big influence, and Bob Wills,
the king of Western
Bob
swing.
Wills came to my town, Wichita, regularly because they had a big, nice place for dance bands there, and so I got to listening to some black guys named Pete Johnson and Albert Almonds. They were piano players that lived up probably New York or somewhere like that, and they were playing boogie woogie, and I kind of tried to tune up to that, and play some of that in high school with a friend of mine. But I went back to the swingier type of music, and then I fell in love with the mandolin and Bill Monroe's music, and there's a conglomeration of styles at all, and just a mash of musical styles is what I am. And so whenever the girls and their mother and I got to singing, the songs and the harmonies designated what the program was going to be like, because we stressed the vocals mostly.
Sure. And now, would you describe, Buck, your piano playing as sort of a combination of all those different styles of music,
I'd say so.
honky-tonk, swing, and blues?
honky-tonk style with a kick, with a kind of a swingy kick to it, you know. And it's came from listening to 3 or 4 different styles of music. But it has a definitely swing or bounce and
the ragtime bounce.
Yeah.
And so I guess let's now bring Sharon and Cheryl into the conversation. And did you used to listen, Sharon and Cheryl, and go and see your dad perform often?
Well, we have memories of seeing him. He was actually in a band when we were just little girls. I guess I can remember being about 5 or 6 years old, maybe. He played in it's kind of a rockabilly band. Actually, they did some country songs and some western songs, but they did mostly kind of a rockabilly. They had a really rocking guitar player in the band, but there was a steel player in the band too. So anyway, it was the 50s, and rockabilly was really hot, and they were trying to play a lot of music that appealed to everybody. But we do remember him playing. He was really a showman. He would. We remember him playing The Last Date. That was one thing. It came out, and during the time that he was with this band, I forgot to tell you the name of the band, the Volcanoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We also remember Dad laying on his back on the piano bench with his feet in the air like he was riding a bicycle, and playing boogie woogie all at the same time. Now, don't you know, these 2 little girls thought their dad was that was the coolest thing they'd ever seen.
Kind of like Jerry Lee Lewis, huh?
That's right.
And I guess that was probably around when you moved, or after you had moved to Arkansas, correct?
That was before we moved to Arkansas. When we moved to Arkansas in 1962, we were just barely in grade school, or first, second grade, and our dad had gotten burnt out of playing the dance halls, and he really just kind of thought he wasn't going to play much music, but he took his mandolin with him, and we moved in an old farmhouse out in the country. We had some friends that had moved to Arkansas, and Mom and Dad went to visit them, and it looked appealing to them, just more of a country life, and getting out of the dance halls, and so that guy was also a fellow that loved music, and I don't know, word just got around. Dad met a banjo player, and first thing you knew, they were picking and singing around the house, and our mother was from a musical family also. She had 2 brothers that wrote songs. Another brother, the one that introduced Mom and Dad, was actually a guitar player and a music lover. And so Mama had a great voice, and her and Dad started singing together around the house. And they met this banjo player, and first thing you know, they had a little band. And
the Down Home folks were born.
That's right. And they were making tapes in the kitchen, little reel-to-reel tapes, and sending them into the radio stations. And they'd tell us kids to be quiet, quit playing. They were going to cut a song for the radio. And it just seemed very natural for Sharon and me to want to do that. And Dad was never seemed like he was just happy playing in the kitchen or the living room. He really liked the audience, and Mama was a little more reluctant as far as getting in front of people. The very first time she knew one chord on the mandolin, and Daddy told Mama to grab a hold of that A chord and just don't move her hand, just play for all she's worth. But she's a great singer, and she got over her stage fright, and they became real well known in the area. There was a period of time as Sharon and I grew up and kept singing with them that we were on television in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and we got to be known around that countryside, for an entertaining show, because Daddy always had, we had lots of music, and Dad always had comedy, and it would just be a great little show when people would come to see it. And we sang lots of churches out there in the country, too.
Bet.
So it was a learning ground for Sharon and me.